and welcome to the Property Wealth Podcast. Today we're diving into a really interesting topic that can change the way you think about real estate investing, novation agreements, and how to assign contracts profitably.
Yeah, it's a game changer for many investors. A lot of people don't realize how powerful these agreements can be when used correctly.
Absolutely. And if you're over 40, thinking about building long-term wealth through real estate, this is definitely something you'll want to understand.
Right. We're going to break down what novation agreements are, how they work, and why they can be a fantastic tool in your investing toolkit. Plus, we'll share some real-life examples and tips that you can start applying right away.
And I love that we're going to keep it practical and relatable. Because, let's face it, it can be overwhelming with all the jargon in real estate.
Definitely, and we want to make sure it's accessible. So whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, you'll find some valuable insights today.
So, if you've ever wondered how to maximize your profits or streamline your investing process, you're in the right place.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's start by discussing what exactly a novation agreement is and how it differs from other types of contract assignments.
Sarah, the whole idea of novation agreements really strikes a chord, especially for those of us over 40. Retirement isn't just around the corner anymore. It's actually here for a lot of folks. And having a solid strategy, like using novation, can really make a difference.
Absolutely, Mike. It's like a safety net, right? With inflation creeping up, people are feeling that pinch. They want to ensure their investments are not just secure, but they're also growing, so they can enjoy a comfortable retirement.
Exactly. I spoke to someone recently, let's call him Tom. He's in his early 50s, and he was worried sick about his retirement savings not keeping pace with inflation. He mentioned how he had a couple of investment properties that weren't performing as well as he'd hoped.
That sounds familiar. It can be tough when properties start feeling like a burden rather than an asset.
Right? So I suggested he consider novating a couple of those contracts. It turned out he had buyers interested in those properties, but he was hesitant to let them go. However, when I explained how he could assign the contracts profitably without actually selling the property outright, his eyes lit up.
That's a game changer. It's all about flexibility, isn't it? Especially for someone like Tom, who wants to stay financially secure, but also not get bogged down by properties that drain his resources.
Precisely. Think about it. If he can step away from those properties without the hassle of managing them, he can focus on the ones that are actually bringing him joy and income. Plus, it opens up opportunities for him to reinvest that capital somewhere else.
And that's crucial. With the current market shifts, being adaptable is key. If you're stuck in a property that's not performing, it can hold you back from other wealth-building opportunities.
Definitely. I also think about the emotional side of this. Many of the listeners might be feeling the weight of financial insecurity as they approach retirement. It's stressful to think about how you'll support yourself or your family.
Oh, for sure. It's not just about the numbers, right? It's about peace of mind. I had a conversation with a woman named Linda, who was in her late 40s. She was nervous about her children's future, especially with rising costs everywhere.
That's a common concern. There's a lot of pressure to provide, and property can be a great way to build that security.
Exactly. Linda realized that instead of holding onto a property that wasn't generating cash flow, she could novate it. Take that profit and invest in something more aligned with her goals, like a property in a better location or even a different market altogether.
And it's fascinating because novation can also help in wealth transfer. If she's thinking about her kids, having those assets or profits from novation can be used to fund their education or help them get their first home.
Right. It's like setting them up for success while also easing your own financial worries. I think a lot of people don't realize how powerful this strategy can be in that context.
Exactly. And let's be real, these are not just abstract concepts. This is about real people making real decisions that affect their lives and their families. I've seen many investors use novation agreements to create a win-win scenario where they benefit now and their family benefits later.
And it can feel empowering, too, to take control of your financial future. When you see a clear path forward, it can really change your mindset.
Yes, and with the current economic trends, people are looking for more ways to protect their wealth. Real estate has always been a solid investment, but with novation, they can navigate the market shifts more adeptly.
It really does feel like a tool for the times, doesn't it? With everything going on, being able to pivot and reassess your investments is so crucial.
For sure. And let's not forget about the psychological aspect of financial security. Knowing you have options can alleviate so much stress. You don't have to feel trapped by a property that's just not working out.
That's such a great point. When you're over 40, you want to feel like you're building towards something, not just holding on to things out of fear of loss.
Exactly. And I think for many, this shift in mindset from being a property owner to being a strategic investor can really open up new avenues. It's empowering to realize that you have choices and can make decisions that fit your life goals.
So what's the next step for those who are interested in diving into novation agreements?
Well, that's the exciting part. We're about to get into the core strategies of how to effectively use novation in your real estate investing journey. Stay tuned. So, let's dive into the core strategies and rules of thumb when it comes to novation agreements, right?
Absolutely, Mike. I think a good starting point is understanding the basics of how novation works and why it can be such a powerful tool in real estate investing.
Right. So think of novation as a way to transfer a contract from one party to another. It's not just an assignment. It effectively replaces the original contract with a new one, where the new buyer steps into the seller's shoes.
Got it. And that can be really beneficial, especially if you've found a great deal but can't close on it yourself.
Exactly. Let's say you find a property listed at $200,000, and after running the numbers, you're confident it could sell for $250,000. You negotiate a purchase agreement with the seller, but then you realize you need to focus on another investment. Instead of letting that deal go, you can find another buyer.
Right? And then novate the contract to them?
Exactly. You'd essentially assign your rights in the contract to that new buyer, and if you negotiate it well, you could charge a fee for facilitating the deal, say $10,000.
That's like pocketing a quick profit without actually having to close on the property yourself.
Exactly, but it's crucial to have the right terms in your initial agreement that allow for novation. Look for language that permits assignment or novation, which is a must-have.
So what's the first practical rule of thumb that our listeners should remember when considering novation agreements?
A good rule of thumb is the, quote, 1% rule. It suggests that for a rental property, the monthly rent should be about 1% of the purchase price. If you're looking at that $200,000 property, you'd ideally want to see it generating around $2,000 a month in rent.
That makes sense. It helps you quickly gauge if the investment is worth pursuing.
Right, and if it doesn't meet that 1% threshold, you might want to reconsider unless there are other compelling factors.
Like location or potential for appreciation.
Exactly. Location is massive. Then there's the 50% rule, which helps investors estimate operating expenses. It suggests that roughly 50% of your rental income will go towards expenses like maintenance, property management, and taxes.
So if you're expecting to earn $2,000 a month, you'd budget about $1,000 for expenses?
Precisely. That way, you can get a clearer picture of your potential cash flow before making a commitment.
And cash flow is key, right? Especially for investors over 40 who are looking to build long-term wealth.
Absolutely. You want to ensure that the property not only appreciates over time, but also provides consistent income. Now let's talk a bit about evaluating deals.
Yes. What's a solid checklist for evaluating a property, especially when considering novation?
Start with the fundamentals, the property's location, condition, and market value. Then look at comparable sales in the area. What similar properties have sold for recently?
So doing your homework on the local market is essential.
Definitely. Then consider the potential rental income, apply the 1% rule, and don't forget to factor in the 50% rule for your expenses.
And what about financing options? Are there specific strategies that work well for investors using novation?
Great question. If you're planning to novate, it's smart to use private money lenders or hard money loans. These can be quicker to secure than traditional financing, which is key when you're trying to move fast on a deal.
So, if you're working with a private lender, you might not have to worry as much about jumping through all the hoops that traditional banks require.
Exactly. But keep in mind, those financing options can come with higher interest rates, so you'll want to be confident in your profit margins.
Makes sense. And what about the types of properties that are best suited for novation agreements?
Look for properties that are distressed or undervalued. Fixer-uppers can be great candidates because you can negotiate lower purchase prices and then assign the contract to someone looking to flip or renovate.
And again, it circles back to knowing your market. If you know a neighborhood is on the rise, that's golden.
Right, and always be cautious about how you present the property to potential buyers. Highlight its potential and any value-add opportunities.
So it's about framing the narrative of the property in a way that gets potential buyers excited.
Exactly. Now let's transition to some common pitfalls people might encounter with novation agreements.
Yeah, I think understanding those can really help our listeners avoid costly mistakes.
For sure. One major pitfall is not having a clear understanding of the contract terms. Always ensure that you're legally able to novate before you enter into any agreements.
And that might mean consulting with a real estate attorney, right?
Definitely. It's worth the investment to avoid any legal headaches down the line. Another pitfall is underestimating the time it takes to find a buyer after you've secured the contract.
So it's critical to have a solid network or strategy in place to find that buyer quickly.
Exactly. And don't forget about the importance of proper due diligence. Skipping that can lead to financial pitfalls you could have avoided.
Right. Knowing the full scope of what you're getting into is essential, especially with novation agreements.
And remember, while novation can open doors, it's not a guaranteed profit, so be prepared for the ups and downs.
Absolutely. Thanks for breaking all of this down, Mike. I think our listeners will find this practical advice really useful as they explore novation agreements.
So, Sarah, when it comes to novation agreements, one of the biggest pitfalls I see investors fall into is, well, over-leveraging. Taking on too much debt without really understanding the implications.
Right, and that can really spiral out of control, can it? I mean, how often do you see investors get in over their heads because they're chasing after that next big deal?
Exactly. I had a client once who thought they could flip 3 properties at once, but they didn't account for the renovation costs, unexpected delays, and the carrying costs that still stack up even when a property is sitting there vacant, right?
That sounds stressful. So, they ended up in a tight spot, I assume?
Yeah, they did. They were relying on a quick sale to cover everything, but when the market shifted and buyers pulled back, they were left holding the bag. It's a harsh lesson in understanding cash flow.
I can imagine. So what's the takeaway there? How can someone avoid that pitfall?
Well, first and foremost, it's essential to have a solid cash flow plan in place. Always budget for more than you think you'll need. And don't just focus on the potential profit. Look at your overall financial picture and keep a reserve fund for those unexpected costs.
That makes sense. And what about tenants? You mentioned bad tenants earlier. That's another common issue, right?
Absolutely. A bad tenant can be a huge drain on your resources. I had another investor who didn't do proper background checks, just wanted to fill the vacancy quickly. Turns out, they got a tenant who didn't pay rent on time. Or at all, really.
Oh no, that's a nightmare. How did they handle that?
Well, they thought they could just evict the tenant quickly, but you know how that goes. It ended up dragging on for months. Meanwhile, they were still responsible for the mortgage and utilities.
So a vacancy costs you money, but a bad tenant can be even worse.
Exactly. It's crucial to vet your tenants thoroughly. Check their credit, rental history, and references. A little extra time up front can save you a lot of headache down the road.
And what about the cash flow? You mentioned that earlier too. Ignoring cash flow is another pitfall, isn't it?
Definitely. I see many investors who focus solely on the property value appreciation and forget about the income it generates. One investor thought they were doing great because their property was appreciating, but they hadn't considered how much was going out every month.
So they were just seeing dollar signs, but not realizing the cash flow was negative?
Exactly. They were losing money every month, and it took them too long to realize it. A positive cash flow is essential for long-term sustainability.
What kind of advice do you give to help them keep an eye on that?
I recommend setting up a simple cash flow tracker. Just list out all income sources, rent, any additional income, and then all expenses, mortgage, taxes, maintenance, and so on. Seeing it all laid out can really help clarify the situation.
That's a smart move. And timing the market is another area where investors can stumble, right?
Absolutely. Many believe they can time the market perfectly, but it's very tricky. I had a client who waited for the perfect moment to buy, but in the meantime, property prices just kept climbing.
So they missed out on a lot of potential gains because they were waiting for that ideal moment?
Right. You can't always predict market movements. Instead, focus on buying quality properties in good locations. It's better to invest consistently over time rather than trying to hit a home run.
That's a great point. And what about hidden costs? I imagine those can catch investors off guard.
Oh, definitely. I had one investor who thought they were getting a great deal on a fixer-upper, but they didn't account for all the hidden costs like permits, unexpected repairs, and potential zoning issues.
Yikes! So they ended up spending way more than they initially planned.
Exactly. It's essential to do thorough due diligence before committing to a property. Always budget for more than just the purchase price.
What do you suggest to avoid those kinds of surprises?
Well, I advise conducting a comprehensive inspection and reviewing all the associated costs up front. If you're not sure about certain aspects, consult with professionals, contractors, inspectors, or real estate advisors.
That's really helpful advice. So to summarize, investors need to be mindful of their leverage, vet their tenants, stay on top of cash flow, avoid trying to time the market, and be aware of hidden costs.
Exactly. And if you do find yourself in a tough spot, the key is to take a step back and reassess your strategy. Look for ways to cut costs, increase cash flow, or even consult with a mentor or advisor to find a way forward.
Such practical advice, Mike. It's all about staying informed and prepared, right?
Yes, and being adaptable. Real estate investing can be unpredictable, but with the right mindset and approach, you can navigate those challenges successfully.
So, what's the next step for someone who's ready to dive into novation agreements but wants to avoid these pitfalls?
Start by educating yourself. Seek out resources, network with other investors, and maybe even join a local real estate investing group. The more you learn, the better prepared you'll be.
Great advice. It sounds like the key is really to stay proactive and informed.
Absolutely. That's the best way to build long-term wealth without falling into those common traps.
All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's wrap things up and talk about the next steps for our listeners who want to take action.
All right, so let's dive into some actionable steps that you can take right now, to really get the ball rolling with novation agreements.
Yeah, that sounds great. Where should someone start?
Well, first off, I'd suggest getting familiar with the concept of novation itself. It's crucial to understand how it works in practice. You could start by reading a couple of books on real estate investing. One that I really like is The Book on Investing in Real Estate with No and Low Money Down by Brandon Turner. It gives some solid insights into creative financing strategies, including novation.
That's a good recommendation. I think getting a solid foundation is key. Are there any online resources or tools you think people should check out?
Absolutely. One of my go-tos is Zillow. It's an awesome platform for researching properties. You can filter by location, price, and even see the property history, which can give you insights on how to structure your agreements.
Right, and I bet it helps to understand the local market dynamics as well.
Exactly. And then there's Bigger Pockets. They have a fantastic calculator that can help you analyze deals. You can input different scenarios, including financing options, and see what works best for your investment strategy.
Oh, I love Bigger Pockets. The community is so supportive too.
Yes, it really is. Plus, there are forums where you can ask questions and connect with other investors who might have experience with novation agreements.
That's a great way to learn from others. What about tracking your potential deals?
Good point. For that, I recommend DealCheck. It's a user-friendly app for analyzing rental properties and flips. You can do side-by-side comparisons, which is super helpful when you're assessing the profitability of a deal.
Sounds like something I definitely want to have on my phone. What else do you think would be beneficial?
Rentometer is another tool worth mentioning. It's great for checking rental prices in your area. You can quickly gauge if the rent you're proposing aligns with the market.
That's so useful, especially for someone just starting out.
Definitely. Now, if you're looking to connect with others, joining a local real estate meetup can be invaluable. You can learn from seasoned investors and even find a mentor who can guide you through your journey.
Networking is so important. What if someone's a bit shy or unsure about attending these meetups?
That's completely normal. Start small. Maybe just reach out to a few people online first. You could even participate in virtual meetups to ease into it.
Yeah, and I think just being open to learning can make a big difference.
Exactly. And I'd also recommend setting a habit of analyzing at least one deal per week. Just dedicate some time to look through listings, maybe practice writing up mock novation agreements.
That sounds manageable, and it keeps you engaged with the market.
Right. And don't forget to leverage your local MLS access if you have it. It's a treasure trove of information and can help you stay ahead of potential opportunities.
All these steps feel really achievable.
For sure. And if someone wants to dive deeper, listening to podcasts like Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow can also be beneficial. They often cover topics that align with novation and creative financing.
I love that idea. Getting those insights while on the go is so convenient.
Yeah, and remember, it's all about starting where you are. Don't feel like you need to know everything right away. Just take the first step and build from there.
Absolutely. It's all about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together. Well, as we wrap up our discussion on novation agreements, let's highlight a few key takeaways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first point is understanding that novation allows you to transfer your contractual obligations to another party, which can really open up your options in real estate investing.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that clear communication with all parties involved is crucial. Otherwise, things can get messy, right?
Right. And don't forget about the importance of due diligence. Knowing who you're assigning the contract to can make all the difference.
And of course, leveraging novation agreements can lead to profit margins that might not have been possible otherwise. It's a smart strategy for maximizing your returns.
I love that point. It really emphasizes how creative thinking in real estate can lead to greater wealth-building opportunities.
Speaking of building wealth, remember that investing in real estate is a journey. It takes time, patience, and the right strategies.
Yes, definitely. So if you found this episode helpful, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and maybe even drop a comment with your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have.
And if you know someone over 40 who's looking to dive into property investing, share this episode with them. You never know who might benefit from these insights.
Yes, please do. And next time, we're going to dive into wrap mortgages, which are really fascinating for seller finance creative deals.
That's right. A great way to explore how to create flexible financing solutions, so you won't want to miss it.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. We hope you're feeling inspired to take those next steps in your real estate journey.
Take care, everyone, and happy investing.
Bye for now.